played volleyball in the top German league. We practiced 5 times a week. You develop a certain level of self-discipline doing that. I like art. I find it very calming and relaxing when you're at an exhibition and you see beautiful things and simply sit there and let it affect you. That's relaxation for me. My name is Antje Wörner, and I work at DLR's Institute of Engineering Thermodynamics in Stuttgart, where I am the head of the Department of Thermal Process Technology. There are 50 staff members and 10 to 15 students on top of that. We research the storage of energy, thermal energy and chemical energy, in the sense of alternative fuels. I have 2 children, both almost grown up. The oldest is studying at university. The other will finish secondary school next year. I spent my first years as a scientist right in the lab. We always start with very small amounts, milligrams, and we'll do experiments with the material. Then we slowly work our way up to larger amounts. And such storage devices in reality are 50 meters high and have a diameter of 12 meters. Hot Reg is our largest test facility. The facilities may look boring, but the topic is what really excites scientists and students too. We don't have any trouble finding students to work with. In my life, things have to be done quickly. Since I don't have a lot of time, I can't just devote myself to one thing. That means I have 2, 3, or even 4 things going on at once. And I've got to see how quickly something else can be organized. That's just part of my life. But research itself needs to be pursued at a certain speed. We always make decisions in teams here. Decisions are never made alone. And I'm not dictatorial, not at all. But in the end, when push comes to shove, then I'm the one that has to make the decision and is responsible for it. And they can sometimes be unpleasant decisions as well. It's important to me to be able to show vulnerability, to be able to withdraw from the role of always having to stay on the ball, make decisions and take on responsibilities. And maybe having someone at my side who steps in for me. That is actually important. In that sense, happiness is being able to do the things I enjoy doing in a way that suits me, privately and professionally. And at the moment, since I am doing that successfully for the most part, I'd say yes, I am happy right now.
High in the Himalayas at Pokhara Airport in Nepal. In January 2014, it was time for a premiere above the roof of the world. Mountain Wave Project pilots and scientists from Germany's National Aeronautics and Space Research Center, DLR, successfully flew alongside Mount Everest in a motorized glider for the first time. The aircraft, owned by the Aachen University of Applied Sciences, was carried over the summit at an altitude of 9,200 meters on atmospheric currents known as mountain waves. The crew had a special 3D camera along with them, a new type of photographic system developed at DLR. Its images provide the basis for creating highly accurate 3D models, this time of the part of Everest located in Nepal. The scientists are mapping the famous rescue route between Lukla and Mount Everest. They also overflew the region around Annapurna. The extremely accurate 3D models will help improve forecasting of major cliff slides and floods caused by glacial lake overspills in future. DLR's Institute for Flight System Technology is researching the future of flight. This year, Europe's most modern center for flight simulation, AVES, began operating at the Institute's facility. Exact copies of the Airbus A320 Atra and Eurocopter EC135 FHS and a high-resolution projection system set the stage for diverse and realistic simulation opportunities. A sophisticated system allows the cockpit to be interchanged between the fixed seat and motion simulators in only 4 hours. More than 50 computers and several kilometers of data cable provide the information required and control the simulator with the greatest of accuracy. AVES is DLR's answer to the challenge of making flight safe, efficient, environmentally friendly and sustainable in the face of continually increasing air traffic volumes. Sensitivity and care were in demand as the Mascot Lander, or Mobile Asteroid Surface Scout, was integrated at DLR's Institute for Space Systems, the IRS. Mascot is at the heart of a mission that will probe further into the secrets of our solar system and perhaps provide clues as to how life came to exist on Earth. Engineers found a way to place 4 instruments in a structure the size of a shoebox with a maximum allowable weight of only 10 kilograms. Every centimeter of space counted. Each element had to be perfectly placed to see the lander and its cargo through the stresses of launch unscathed. Mascot is expected to arrive at asteroid 1999 JU3 in 2018 aboard the Japanese Hayabusa 2 probe. Mascot is special, equipped as it is with a hopping mechanism that allows it to move from one spot to another. It's a spaceflight premiere because it marks the first time a craft will be able to gather data from more than one place on an asteroid. The Hayabusa probe will collect samples from the asteroid and bring them back to Earth.
The Berlin-Potsdam area has a landscape that is kind of similar to the Baltic. As soon as you get out of the city, you find sandy soil and pine woods. It smells so good and somehow reminds me of my childhood at summer camp.
My name is Daniela
Türsch. I work at the Institute of Planetary Research at Berlin-Adlershof, and I've been at DLR for almost 9 years. My main focus is Mars. I'm a planetary geologist. A very important and very exciting question that almost every Mars researcher would like to answer is if there was life on Mars at some point. Most agree that at least there must have been enough water, because water is the medium that links all the chemical elements. For example, it moves them and carries them somewhere where they can form something new. They announced an opening at DLR. In the interview, they said I had the job. It all came very quickly. I had to sleep on it for a night. And then I thought, it would be really dumb if you didn't take it, because it was such a huge chance and a really exciting topic. I ended up working on Mars through a slight detour. Mars fascinates me. The data is fantastic. You put puzzle pieces next to each other and an image takes shape that grows more and more with time. DLR is a really nice employer. You've got lots of freedom. We've got flexi time, and you can decide when to work and take days off. You have a private life, too, and you've got the freedom to shape your life in a way that's comfortable for you. I think that's invaluable. Do I want to go to Mars? No, I don't. For heaven's sake, it's far too dangerous. Of course, I'd love to hold sand from Mars in my hand and give almost anything to do that, but I don't want to fly there. I love this planet with its beautiful green and its atmosphere and plants. And on Mars, it's cold and dry. I don't want to die because of a broken heat shield tile. Maybe if there were charter flights that are perfectly safe, maybe then I go along. My hobby horse is still the topic of my PhD thesis. That's the dark dunes on Mars. Dunes are extremely intriguing. They look beautiful. And the dunes on Mars are special because they're dark. They're not made up of light-colored quartz sand like the dunes we know on Earth. I took my first sand sample in the Sahara in southern Tunisia when I was 14 years old. I was completely fascinated when I picked up the sand in my hand. It was so fine it just slipped out of my fist. You couldn't hold on to it. It just stuck to my fingers. Amazing. I think that's when it all began.
Ich glaube, damit fing's an.
On Hawaii, there's a green sand beach. It's made up of olivine sand, and olivine is one of the main components of my dark dune sand on Mars. When I stood on that beach, it was green. It was absolutely fascinating. I couldn't not take a sample, even though it was strictly forbidden. Every scientist mixes their private and professional interests a bit. Most of them are in it heart and soul. I mean, if you have to go and work, you may as well associate your work with fun. I'm really overjoyed that I have a job that I'm happy to go to every day. I don't think I've ever had a single day that I didn't want to go to work. And if that day would ever come at DLR, I would be able to say, today I'll stay at home. And that's really great. But I do want to go in every day.
Aber ich habe jeden Tag Lust. Ich brauche einfach die Abwechslung.
I need to alternate between work and private life. I wasn't born a planetary researcher. And when I was 6, I didn't imagine that I'd be doing this. I've got lots of different interests, and I pursue them. For me, there's no other point in life than making it pleasant and enjoying life with every breath. What else is there?
Welchen sollte es denn sonst geben?
At the 2014 ILA Berlin Air Show, DLR's Falcon flew in from California, making a beeline directly from joint test flights with NASA. DLR introduced German Chancellor Angela Merkel and guests from Germany and abroad to its research in aviation, spaceflight, energy and transportation. Cooperation plans were made and contracts signed with NASA and ESA. NASA and DLR also presented the first results of cooperative test flights probing the impact of organic fuel emissions on climate. In the Spaceflight Exhibition Hall designed by DLR and its partners, at the DLR exhibition stand and the stand of Germany's Federal Ministry of Economics and Energy, the Space Agency also introduced its current missions and research work with more than 80 examples, including ideas for sustainable, safe and comfortable flight. In April, DLR scientists and test pilots ran a trial for their wake turbulence warning system. The Institute of Flight Systems developed it with the aid of software devised by the Institute of Atmospheric Physics. The wake turbulence generated by every aircraft can pose a threat to other planes. The new software can predict these by using only position and weather data from the aircraft flying ahead of it. DLR's Falcon flies repeatedly across the flight path of the research plane Atra. Here, Falcon is functioning as a turbulence generator. Regular air traffic control systems are transmitting precise information about the position and speed of the Falcon up ahead. It's received on board Atra. The system will in future suggest evasive maneuvers in addition to warning of wake turbulence. On May the 28th, 2014, at 21:56 Central European Time, for the first time in 6 years, a German astronaut lifted off into space from the Baikonur Cosmodrome.
And liftoff. Liftoff of Reed Wiseman, Max Sarayev, and Alexander Gerst.
Alexander Gerst was on a mission with colleagues Maxim Surayev and Reed Wiseman. At an altitude of about 400 kilometers above the Earth, the Künzelsau natives spent 166 days living, working and researching on board the International Space Station, the ISS. A scientist himself, on the ISS, Gerst was the long arm of researchers on Earth who were taking part in the mission Blue Dot. The astronaut carried out almost 100 experiments in medicine, biology, technology, materials sciences and physics. Of these, 25 were the work of German scientists. The European ATV-5 Georges Lemaitre docked, a delivery even in outer space. On October 7th, 2014, Gerst took a walk in space lasting almost 7 hours. What's more, he showed us again and again how vulnerable this blue dot in space, our Earth, is. On November 10th, 2014, Gerst returned safe and sound at 4:57 Central European Time. His capsule touched down on the Kazakh steppes after a 3.5-hour return flight. Mission accomplished.
I love challenges. I love new things. I'm the first person at the buffet who says, "That looks weird, I'll eat that." That's who I am. I think it's good when the gender issue is kept personal. I'm a person, I'm an engineer, I do my job. And from that perspective, I don't think it's so important to keep gender in the foreground in my profession. I'm totally convinced about what I'm doing. I see the sense in what we're doing and see daily what we're working for, and that's really nice. There's a lot of satisfaction. My name is Ina Rüdinger. I'm a test flight engineer, and I'm the head of the Manching test flight facility. To be honest, I didn't know there was a job called test flight engineer. And if I'd known, I would have wanted to do it right from the very start. It's a huge stroke of luck that I found this job. And that back then, DLR gave us an opportunity to go to test pilot school. Yeah, and part of it has to do with being a bit lucky as well. I'm not the kind of engineer who grew up on an airfield. A fascination with mathematics and technology was what came first for me. I discovered aviation when I was studying mechanical engineering, and I've never regretted it for a moment since. I believe that I'm not really perceived as a woman here so much anymore, but as a person and engineer, and I think that's important. At the beginning, of course, they looked a bit askance, but as soon as you got to know people, it was no longer an issue. What I really like is that every day at work is different. You really can't plan a day through from start to finish. We work with lots of different people from different areas, and we need to familiarize ourselves with new fields. On a personal level, the way we deal with each other is pleasant as well. We're really close friends, the colleagues from DLR and the military as well. It's really like a little family. It's a great work environment. We help the German military, the Bundeswehr, in testing aircraft and check to see if the supplier has actually provided what they promised. We've been cooperating now for about 40 years, and it works quite well.
Dixie 1-4, Dixie chick. How do you read?
Dixie chick 1-4, loud and clear.
Loud and clear as well. Are you ready for the test?
Project away.
In addition, it's really great to work on something that you don't get every day. No one has a Tornado or a Eurofighter at home in the garage. And very few get access to them that quickly. And to have such ready access, to sit in the control tower and even be able to hear the pilots breathe, that's when you realize again that very few people have a job like this. Being fit is important. As a test flight engineer, I've got to do a medical every year, and that's when they torture us. We get on exercise machines and they do a stress ECG, blood tests, urine, the works, hearing tests. And if we're unlucky and have to do the major medical, then you've got to go to doctors that no one ever goes to voluntarily. So you really have to ensure that you're fit. Being in natural surroundings is just fantastic because you get a very different point of view. You just see green. You're not interested in what's happening in the rest of the world. Sometimes in the woods you feel you're really on your own.
Geocaching
is a type of modern treasure hunting. In principle, you have the GPS coordinates and you have to find your way. In the end, you find a little container or something similar and then you have to log in. You can also do it online. In my circle of friends, I don't really have to explain why I'm so fascinated with my job. As soon as people hear you work at a military airport, and for DLR as well, which is quite well known, then they really listen up.
It's
a dream job. Few people have the chance to do it, and I'm thankful that I'm one of them.
An entire town has been made into an experimental transportation research laboratory. Researchers use all of Braunschweig to test the Application Platform Intelligent Mobility, or AIM for short. Day and night, all traffic going through a 4-lane intersection is being logged and analyzed. AIM enables the development and testing of new technologies for safe and environmentally friendly driver assistance and efficient traffic management. New systems for supporting drivers come into existence on the basis of knowledge gathered in this way. A cooperative driving simulator allows several subjects to test systems that interact with one another. Even the behavior of cyclists and pedestrians is analyzed. AIM is helping to make driving safer, more efficient and more sustainable in future. Adhesive tape is being applied behind the leading edge slats of DLR's research aircraft Atra. The jet is making unusual overflights of Kochstedt Airport to allow scientists to investigate how much insects soil the front edges of the wings in spite of the protection provided by the leading edge shields. Scientists around the globe are currently working to develop laminate wings, which among other things are much smoother than those of today. As a result, the wings of the future will generate less air resistance. Atra flies at an altitude of 15 meters above the airport.
50.
The pilots regain altitude at one end of the airport, circle, and resume flying at low altitude. The landing gear stays retracted. In July 2014, the test flights yield the first results for the development of a new type of slat system that will prevent dead insects from soiling the laminate wings of the future. Payload integration is a prelude to launch. Small GEO is a new telecommunications satellite platform. It can carry payloads of up to 300 kilograms and has a set service life of 15 years. Small GEO was developed in Germany and built in Europe. OHB Space Systems of Bremen is overseeing the integration of the Small GEO mission. The satellite's modular structure makes it possible to adapt quickly to the changing needs of the telecommunications market. The first 3,200 kilogram satellite is scheduled to be launched into geostationary Earth orbit at 35,790 kilometers in the second half of 2015. A long voyage got underway on March 2, 2004 in Kourou, French Guiana. The Rosetta space probe carrying the Philae lander flew through space for a decade. It traveled a distance of 7 billion kilometers to reach its destination, the comet 67P Churyumov-Gerasimenko. It hibernated in icy space until the alarm clock went off on January 20th, 2014. Wake up! The first surprise came on approach. 67P turned out to be one of those heavenly bodies apparently made up of two merged parts. The high point of the mission came on November the 12th, 2014, when Philae released itself from the mothercraft and floated slowly down to the comet's surface in a 7-hour descent. Touchdown. Philae bounced 3 times and came to rest at 1832 Central European Time at the edge of a crater.
I think you learn a lot from having children and a family. It helps me to understand different things, to direct and lead. I believe that a family gives you a different perspective. It helps too when you come home all wound up or something at work didn't go as you hoped, and the little one comes running to you smiling and says, "Hello, Mama."
Und dann kommt die Kleine strahlend auf einen zugerannt und sagt, "Hallo, Mama."
House and home is my small personal world, my private little world. And when I come here, my world gets bigger because we work very internationally. You don't really notice it because we're out in the woods and everything is quite rural, but our orientation is very international.
My name
is Anja Frank, and I work at DLR in Lampolzhausen in the Institute of Space Propulsion, and I'm the head of the Department of Experimental Facilities. We test engines, maintain test beds. We also adapt them and ensure that they always work well and safely. Here you can see what the future looks like for us. We're building a new test bed, P52. It's the first test bed that I've worked on from the very beginning. That's really exciting. And if everything goes well, we'll run experiments here in 3 years. That's just when my little girl will start school. My mother is surprised when she finds out what I actually do at work. I think she imagined me maybe becoming a bank teller, getting married, having 3 children, and staying at home. But that wouldn't have been right for me. I always wanted to be an astronaut when I was little, and I wanted to fly to Mars. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten to Mars yet. So I'll do the second best thing. I'll work on the engines and see to it that people can get into space. This is where the maintenance area for the test beds begins. This is the Integration Hall M29. That's where the engines are delivered. And here's something special in Lampolzhausen, the food truck. It drives through the compound and gives people breakfast. Being the boss is fun, too. There are lots of human problems that play a role, and these are often more difficult to master than the technical ones. It's really exciting to bring together all the different personalities and to ensure that people can work together. And I hope that they know that I'm there for them, and that I'll fight their battles for them. I hope that they see me as part of themselves and of their teams. I'd really like that.
This
is the control room for the P5 test bed. It's the brain of the test bed. And this is also a spot where I once used to sit as the person directing the tests. My father also used to work on P5. He helped develop P5. I was here later and worked on developing the Vulcan too. And when he retired, I stayed here at P5 and ran tests. I get on well with my father, and we really know our way around here. And of course, we talk about work now and then. Some of the technical solutions and approaches that they had back then are still quite interesting today. I always try to tap into this wealth of experience from time to time. My little girl has relatively close contact with the subject of rockets because when I speak with my father and we're talking, she hears and asks, "Mama, what do you do at work?" And when I leave the house, I have to tell her where I'm going and what I'm doing. And she knows. And she says, "Oh, Mama's going to the rockets." I enjoy doing it. Maybe you have to be a bit of a pyromaniac to enjoy it, I don't know. But I really like it when I hear the engines running and when they're running well, and the sound of a rocket being launched. The force and power that's behind it is simply impressive, and it motivates me. It inspires me to keep doing this.
Efficient, affordable and safe batteries are the key factor to making electromobility attractive to the general public. In the battery laboratory at DLR's Institute for Technical Thermodynamics, scientists are developing and testing a range of battery systems. They're concentrating on the processes that take place inside the compact energy storage devices. These influence significantly performance, discharging and battery life. A driving simulator indicates how these processes affect electric cars. The device simulates electricity and currents within the battery and the actual level of charge depending on speed and driving style. The aim of the research is to configure batteries that optimally service the needs of the electric vehicle. Walking is a basic human movement, but something that most people do every day is actually a highly complex activity that first needs to be learned. Humanoid robots are no exception. The Toro walking machine independently and flexibly records its surroundings with the help of a 3D camera. It can also be directed to walk towards objects and perform simple tasks with its hands, all by itself. But whether it's operating solo or remotely controlled, Toro is an unusual research platform of DLR's Robotics and Mechatronics Center. It's to serve the development of new and fundamental technologies for humanoid robotics. Telepresence can also be used to remotely control Toro. An operator virtually places himself within Toro to guide the robot's movements and control it as if he were there himself.
In nature, ants follow pheromone paths left by other ants. That's how they tell each other that it's an attractive place to be. People certainly orient themselves towards where others go. Where there's lots of people, it's often perceived as the place to be. So people's behavior isn't really so different from that of ants. I'm a scientist at the Institute of Transport Research in Berlin-Adlershof. I'm the leader of the group called Modeling Urban Mobility, and my name is Rita Zyganski. Driving is often associated with freedom, with having the opportunity to get from point A to point B whenever I want to. On the other hand, we can see again and again in Berlin that lots of people using cars cause problems in public spaces, in urban areas. But I wouldn't say it's public enemy number one. Relatively early on in my studies, I got into urban development and structures in cities. It's a very complex topic. It has a great deal to do with people and with irrationality, and I found that stimulating. We look at how people decide every day when they leave the house, where they want to go, what means of transportation they'll use to get there, and how that's all related to available means of transportation. Of course, if you're a transportation scientist, you have a different perspective as you move through space. Whether I'm walking around here or some other place, you have a special way of looking at things. Last year I was in China, and I had to stop, for example, and make pictures of delivery bicycles loaded down with goods. You get a special point of view of everyday life.
auf dem Alltag. Das ist das Tolle an Verkehr. Ich bin keine passionierte Autofahrerin.
I'm not really crazy about driving cars. It's not like I enjoy driving really fast or taking lots of sharp corners. A car for me presents an opportunity to get me where I want to go. I'm pretty rational about automobile use. When I was a child, I was always out with my parents climbing the sandstone rock formations not far from Dresden. I was born there, and a trip out there was a regular weekend thing for us. Even back then, I was fascinated by how the climbers sat up on top of the sandstone spires. While I'm climbing the cliff, if I see it's going to take a lot of effort or I might get some bruises, I do it mainly because I'm certain that getting up there is worth it. A few black and blue marks are no problem for me. And it's like that with many things, whether it's sport or at work. Sometimes you simply have to hack your way through. The fact that my job consists of lots of hustle and bustle, having plenty to do during the day with a large number of different people, means that the time I have to myself to withdraw and relax is really important to me. I need some distance from my work now and then. My work is fun and it fulfills me, but I place a great deal of value on my private life. At DLR, there are lots of people who enjoy their work, and they really want to achieve something and influence things. We can get together and work through new ideas, and that's fun. I think I'm a very inquisitive person, and it's great fun to develop new concepts working together with people.
Dinge zu entwickeln zusammen mit Leuten.